Hi everyone. Today we'll be taking a look at how the contemporary view of dragons compares to and pulls inspiration from medieval views of dragons, as well as how they differ. We'll be dissecting a few different takes on physical representation, religious symbolism, as well as behavior. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So, firstly, let's go over some medieval representations of dragons. The Aberdeen Bestiary, written around the start of the 13th century, offers us a brief glimpse into what the medieval mind might have thought about dragons. On folio 65V, it offers up the following description: The dragon is bigger than all other snakes or all other living things on earth. The dragon has a crest, a small mouth, and narrow blowholes through which it breathes and puts forth its tongue. Its strength lies not in its teeth but in its tail, and it kills with a blow rather than a bite. It is free from poison. They say that it does not need poison to kill things because it kills anything around which it wraps its tail. From the dragon, not even the elephant, with its huge size, is safe. Based on the physical description given here, it sounds as if the dragon is closer to a serpent or a snake than to the large winged creature we often see depicted today. Interestingly enough, the illustration shown in the Aberdeen Bestiary does have the addition of a small pair of wings on the dragon, which is a physical attribute that is not mentioned in the text. The text likens the dragon to the devil, saying, "The devil is like the dragon. He is the most monstrous serpent of all. He is often aroused from his cave and causes the air to shine, because, emerging from the depths, he transforms himself into the angel of light and deceives the foolish with hopes of vainglory and worldly pleasure." The Aberdeen Bestiary offers this as the symbolic representation of the dragon. The Aberdeen Bestiary does not offer much in terms of behaviors of dragons. It mainly discusses their behaviors within the context of their relationships with other animals. Moving on, we have the depiction of the dragon in Physiologus. Written in the 2nd century, this text is didactic in nature and, generally speaking, offers more in terms of describing behavior and religious symbolism than the Aberdeen Bestiary. Although there is not a direct entry for the dragon is mentioned in the entries for other animals and beasts. There is a lot of Christian symbolism put forth in the Physiologus, all relating to the dragon being a demonic entity or the devil himself. Nowhere is this more clear than when the author writes, "Thus did our Lord kill the huge dragon, the devil, with heavenly waters of indescribable wisdom. The dragon cannot bear water, and the devil cannot bear heavenly words." Although Physiologus is rich in religious symbolism, it does not offer us much in terms of describing the dragon's physical appearance, nor does it give us specific behaviors to expect of the dragon. Perhaps the medieval depiction that most closely aligns with our current understanding of dragons is that of the dragon in Beowulf. Beowulf is an Old English poem written sometime in the 10th or 11th century, although this is a matter of contention among scholars. In Beowulf, the hero of the story steals a cup made of gold and jewels from the hoard of a dragon, which enrages it. The author describes the dragon's reaction as such: "Not fain did the hoard ward wait until evening, then the ward of the barrow was angry in spirit. The loathed one wished to pay for the dear-valued drink-cup with fire. Then the day was done as the dragon would have it. He no longer would wait on the wall, but departed, fire-impelled, flaming." In this depiction, we get to see a dragon as we know it: greedy, angry, powerful, vengeful, spewing fire. The dragon symbolizing greed and consumption is something that we don't necessarily see in our other medieval sources, but is a pretty typical attribute of contemporary dragons. The dragons that we see today do not differ much from medieval depictions, though they seem to have grown in both size and ferocity, scaling from something slightly larger than an elephant into a beast that snugly occupies a mountain. The current idea of dragons most closely matches that of the dragon in Beowulf: large, greedy, angry, and violent. Arguably one of the most ubiquitous representations of a dragon that fits this description is Smaug from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. Tolkien's works are steeped in religious symbolism, with Tolkien himself saying that The Lord of the Rings is a fundamentally religious and Catholic work. Though we get a physical representation of the dragon that is not far off from medieval depictions, in this story we get to see a full fleshing out of two devilish attributes of a dragon that are not touched on in any detail in medieval sources: isolation and pride. After taking the lonely mountain for himself, Smaug spends 171 years alone with his hoard of gold before the mountain is infiltrated. Smaug's isolation follows the framework of dragons being analogous to demons or the devil. There is a recurring theme in Tolkien's works of evil being isolated, and Smaug is no different. The Bible states in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 1 that he who isolates himself pursues selfish desires. He rebels against all sound judgment. This makes it clear to see that Smaug in his isolation, which is born of greed, is symbolic of immoral and sinful behavior. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 18 states, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Nowhere is pride and its subsequent downfall more apparent than in The Hobbit." Through his centuries of life, his battles, and his status as the last great dragon, Smaug becomes prideful, believing himself to be impenetrable and all but invincible. One quote sticks out to signify this. Smaug says, "I kill where I wish, and none dare resist. I laid low the warriors of old, and their like is not in the world today. Then I was but young and tender. Now I am old and strong, thief in the shadows." Not only is Smaug proud, his pride is obviously tainted with a deep contempt for others that he deems unworthy of even battling him. In the end, Smaug is killed by a single black arrow to the chest. Pride leads to the downfall. What started as the medieval tendencies to portray dragons as the devil persist even today, as we can clearly see in The Hobbit, with Smaug embodying everything the devil represents in traditional Christianity. This is not to say, however, that this is the only kind of depiction of dragons that we see in contemporary culture. While there exist different portrayals of dragons, many of them only work in the way that they do due to the understanding of dragons that are based on medieval frameworks. A great example of this is in the movie Shrek, where our heroes are on their quest to save the queen from the tower she's imprisoned in when they meet the dragon that guards her.
There's nothing wrong with being afraid. Fear's a sensible response to an unfamiliar situation. Unfamiliar, dangerous situation, I might add. And with a dragon that breathes fire, and it's nice and breathes fire, it sure doesn't mean you're a coward if you're a little scared, you know what I mean? No! Oh, no! No! Ah! Oh, what large teeth you have! I mean, white sparkling teeth. I know you probably hear this all the time from your food, but you must bleach or something, because that is one dazzling smile you got there. And do I detect a hint of minty freshness? And you know what else? You're a girl dragon. Oh, sure. I mean, of course you're a girl dragon, because you're just reeking of feminine beauty. What's the matter with you? You got something in your eye? Yeah, oh. Man, I'd really love to stay, but I'm an asthmatic, and I don't know if it'll work out. You're gonna be blowing smoke rings and stuff. Try!
Subverting expectations in an effective way is an art, and the writers of Shrek are artists. Although this scene ultimately portrays the dragon as relatively kind, reasonable, romantic, and good-hearted, the scene only works as well as it does because of our shared cultural understandings of what a dragon should be. The consistency of dragons throughout time being portrayed as evil, ruthless, selfish monsters is what allows the opposite attributes to be played for laughs. If the historical depictions of dragons were much more widely varied, this technique would not work nearly as well. Even in cases of dragons that don't fit into the prototype, we view them through the lens of what medieval and modern portrayals of dragons have taught us about what a dragon should be. It's plain to see that current depictions of dragons don't differ much from medieval depictions. If anything, the differences between now and then are based mainly on building off of those medieval understandings. There are many reasons that this could be the case, but my personal opinion is that it's because they're fictional. Many times, our understanding of an animal changes as we make scientific progress and gain more insight into the nature of an animal. A total lack of scientific progress in analyzing dragons allows them to remain what they have always been. Physically, dragons have kept the same features: scales, sharp teeth, an ability to breathe fire and cause mayhem and death. Although over time they seem to have grown in size and destructive power, our perception remains largely the same as it seems to have been in the medieval times. Symbolically, dragons represent roughly the same thing in contemporary culture that they did in medieval times. Whether it be representing devilish isolation and pride, such as with Smaug, or greed and rage, such as with the dragon in Beowulf, the dragon remains symbolic of the devil and wicked acts. In behavior, they are largely the same, acting violently out of self-interest, though the degree of this seems to vary. There's a strong tie between their symbolic nature and their assumed behaviors, with most of the behaviors being markedly negative, both by our standards and medieval standards. It's interesting to see how dragons have changed over the years, but I find it much more interesting to see how they've been able to stay the same. The consistency in portrayals over time is something that is rarely seen, and I'm interested to see if it will stay that way. Thanks.